Good morning, everyone. Uh, Hopefully, everyone sees the video. Getting started. This really excited about this first day of the OCP Virtual Work Summit engineering workshops. So Shin and I will be moderating. Shin's on the line as well. Fantastic. And we just pasted into the chat the agenda, the things that we'd like to go over today. So the first item is around an update to the OCP networking leadership. As all of you know, Scott Emery has been one of the co-leads of OCP networking for several years now and has been doing a fantastic job working with vendors, leading the different initiatives and reviews. And so we're very thankful for all of his work. He is moving on from Cumulus, and so is stepping down from the OCP networking co-leadership position. But he is now handed that over to a new person from Cumulus. Her name is Rupa Prabhu. She's actually on the in the chat, and she and Shin and Archana and the rest of the OCP Foundation, myself, have been working on getting her up to speed on the responsibilities of OCP networking. So over the next few sessions of monthly meetings and OCP IC reviews, you'll see Rupa during all of this. So if you get a chance, please thank Scott for all of his contributions and hard work with the community, and then please reach out also to Rupa as we get her plugged into all the stuff that's happening here within OCP. And just as a background, Rupa has been with Cumulus for many years as a lead architect in their Linux networking. And as you know, as we all know, Cumulus has been very active within the OCP community, as well as the open source networking community. So not just from an ONI perspective, but also interactions with the Linux kernel. So she's very aware of everything that's going on within within OCP. And so, cool. So next, oh yes. Oh, sorry. So I'm just saying I expect that there's going to be a really quick ramp up for Rupa into the OCP ecosystem, given that she's been involved with open networking for all these years with Cumulus. Okay, great. Okay, thanks. So next we'll go over some of the logistics and what to expect over the next couple of days here. Shin, did you want to go over some of that? Oh, Shin. Shin, can you hold? I think folks aren't able to hear you. Sorry, we may have to restart that. I think we're working with the OCP webcast engineers on this. I think we saw yesterday that first of all, I think the OCP Virtual Summit has been fantastic in terms of a lot of this interactions and the setup of the lobby, and you can go in and click on all these different things. Funnily enough, for networking, as many of you are probably aware, we always get the but it's the network, probably even more so than ever in the last couple of months. Lots of people are aware of latency and jitter and dropouts. Frankly, even my own kids are aware of this at this point. They come to me like, hey, what's going on? So let me just, while they work out that with Shin's audio, let me just kind of go over. We've split the couple of days roughly into, they're titled the networking hardware agenda, or the networking hardware track today, and then the networking software track tomorrow. One of the things that we were planning, and when Shin, Scott, and I were reviewing all the submissions, we realized that hardware and software wasn't quite the right name for these systems, or for these tracks. We tried generally to kind of put a lot of the software projects, oriented projects tomorrow, which are a lot of them are oriented around Sonic. But then today there's definitely software, but as well as new hardware and hardware-oriented discussions as well. Just a couple of things to call out. We've got the project update from ONI coming up. We have a new hardware contribution from Arista, and then this is what they'll be going over in more detail, the open switch that they've been working on. And then we have a panel on network operating systems. We expect that is, we've planned to end that a little bit early to maybe have 15 to 20 minutes break before we then resume in the afternoon after lunch with a bunch of talks there going for a few 2 or 3 hours. So that's kind of the logistics there, or that's just kind of underneath the networking software engineering track, a whole list of different talks to go to. A couple of things just from a logistics perspective we also wanted to emphasize. Please use the chat and the question answer capability within the question submission within the Intrado, within the online experience portal. So a lot of the speakers are of course dialing in, even though you're going to see recorded content for a bunch of the opening session, or for a bunch of the initial part of the session. But then the speakers are available and they will be online to answer questions. And so our expectation is that while you're listening to people's talks, enter your questions or into the chat or into the or use the questions and answer tab. And then as we will start out, we'll be aggregating all of those, and then the speakers will then look at those questions and be able to answer them live. Right? So during the session, totally encourage you to do that. The other thing to realize is that each of these sessions are individual, so that if you want to go to the next one of the next thing of the workshop, so for example, the ONI project update is starting soon in 16 minutes, you will need to click on that session to join that session separately. The nice thing about this is that we're going to be able to record each session separately. Each session will also be prepped separately by the webcast engineers on each of those sessions. But that does mean that you just can't sit and listen to all of the track at once. Okay. All right. So that's what to expect the following couple of days. we wanted to follow up, what happens after the virtual summit, because often for us, each year, the virtual summit, or in this year, or the summit every year, is a great chance for our community to come together, hear the updates from the different members of the community, the different member companies, to share what they've been working on. But there's a lot of work all throughout the year. So one of the ideas that we've been talking about is, hey, how can we have one of our more interactive or hands-on workshops in a little bit more detail? The purpose of virtual summit and the summit is to give more of a breadth overview of a lot of the different work that's been going on. And so then we're going to switch to the a little more detailed one. Let me just check. Is Shin, are you online?
Hi, Omar. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great.
So, Shin, did you want to go over the kind of this idea of a virtual workshop later in the year?
Yes. Thank you. Actually, traditionally, we have workshop each year, either in summer or in fall, in the networking group. That we had multiple times in California. So looking at activities in the community, in the group, we feel that there are a lot of interest and topics that people would like to gather together and using one day to be focused, to be concentrated on these topics, to exchange ideas, so that we can make a progress in some of the areas, either to initialize a new project, a new program, or to go deeper, deep dive into one topic. We will survey and working with the networking group to see the interest. If we have enough interest, that hopefully we can looking forward sometime in late summer or early fall, we could have a one-day workshop on all the topics in the networking area, from hardware to software. As you can see today, actually today and tomorrow, we have a very full 2 days. And also because of the submission, we have a lot of submission. We have to be very selective, pick limited topics to be in the virtual summit. And actually, there are many other good presentations. We have to sadly reject that. So Omar, me, and Rupa, we will work with everyone to see the interest and find a good time in late summer or fall to have an interesting group, so that we will leverage again this virtual conference to enable people to join and to focus on the networking software and hardware topics. That's what we are thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's something that people can express their interest either here in the chat or just follow up with us, in one of our networking calls that we have. I'm hopeful because this is the new normal, right? It's really hard to imagine when we're going to have large in-person conferences anytime soon. So, but yet our work has to go on. There's a lot of exciting stuff that's happening. And we as a community have to embrace this as the new normal and just say, okay, how are we going to continue our innovation? How are we going to continue our tight collaboration that we have within the community? The other thing that we want to chat, just to sort of wrap this up, as Rupa and Scott, Shin and I were talking about a little bit longer term for directions for the project, the idea has been coming up that we could spend more time looking at how networking interacts with the rest of the stack, not just the rest of the certainly the rest of the stack within the hardware community here, the telco group, the NIC group, the systems group, hardware management group, but then also possibly moving more upstack, even with understanding particular applications such as high performance compute. So this is something that I think we'll bring up in future networking calls, and perhaps that could be even a birds of a feather, or just sort of an open conference call for us to talk specifically around the some other ways more adjacent to what new areas for OCP networking to get into. Shin, anything you wanted to add in and elaborate on that?
Right, sorry. Actually, I want to pick up one question from the chat window. Someone is asking, is it possible to provide a list of talks and timelines when they will be scheduled? If you are asking about the future virtual workshop, we don't have the details yet. We will work out. The topics will be staying in the project inside our networking hardware and software area, including the existing projects as well as the new ideas and new initiatives that we could bring up between in the next few months. A timeline we do not know yet. So we have this monthly networking meeting, OCP meeting. We could brainstorm in there. But looking ahead, seems like end of summer or fall is one good time that we could aim for. So sorry to interrupt you, Omar. This is to answer answer the questions on chat window.
Yeah. And again, there's a lot of amazing content these few days here for the rest of this week, and encourage everyone to dial in for that. And attend all those meetings. The stuff that we're looking ahead to is that Shin and I just were talking about is really how do we follow up on this week and get into more depth into specific topics. Some of the workshops that have been very successful within the project, we've had the Sonic dedicated sessions and hack sessions. So we want to somehow keep that momentum up. Ideally, we're going to, if shelter in place is lifted, we're going to be able to do this in person, depending upon the guidance, from different countries and states and all. But we're going to, no matter what happens, we have to figure out how to keep the community moving forward and all these projects moving forward. So with that, I think that kind of just brings us to a close here, but certainly we're open for any more questions that anyone wants to ask on the chat. So just to recap, thanks to Scott, and hopefully everyone will get a chance to work. I expect much more with Rupa in the coming year, and welcome to Rupa. Just remember to please engage with all the ways we've provided with OCP in this virtual experience, like to keep on asking questions and chats during all the different sessions you sign into. And you have to remember to go in and out of each session that you want to attend. And then please engage on the list or in the calls. If you have to reach out to one of us, Shin, myself, Rupa, if you have suggestions for an in-depth follow-up or a discussion or birds of a feather, some discussion that you'd like to have about OCP networking, we're totally open as we look to plan out our activities for the rest of the year. All right. I think that's it for us. Anything else? I'm looking at the chat.
Yeah. Again, again, this is a new normal that we all meet virtually online. Hopefully, from yesterday's meeting, the engagement was quite good. So that let's embrace this. I think this online can even bring us closer. We can chat, we can use videos, so that this distance is never a problem between us.
Yeah, I was very encouraged by this, and thanks, Shen, for bringing this up. Hopefully, a bunch of you all saw the keynotes and the panels yesterday. Sonic was tremendously featured, and it was a fantastic way to see all the different adopters, at different stages of Sonic adoption, and it really did bridge the distance. Like we don't have to. While I love our in-person events, and I hope that those can happen again, the reality is we're a global community, and getting in together in person can just take coordination and time. And so in a way, if we embrace this, we can even go faster and just have this new normal of just getting together on conference calls and presenting to each other in webinars, that sort of thing. I see a couple more questions and comments. Oh yes, of course, so definitely check out the Sonic panel. That's now available. If you weren't able to watch that live, it was really, really interesting then to see the different adopters and Dave moderating that. All the events will be posted on the OCP website. Absolutely, we'll post the list and you'll see it on the website. Do we have virtual white label switches?
Yeah, I'm asking them.
Not sure if I quite understand that
Sonic
question.
Virtual box. Yeah.
Virtual, like, is it virtual switches? There are, of course. I'm not gonna try to. I don't quite understand what that is. If it's there's virtual switching, right? There are open source projects for virtual switches that reside, that run in Linux and that don't work with switching hardware. And some of them do actually have been can handle both just software switching as well as hardware switching. So I'm not sure what the question there is. There are some presentations later today. For example. Bringing, like we tried to bring the whole F16 network topology into one box to try to recreate it, but from a testing or emulation perspective, so we should see what that is. We've actually found that the running our NOSes, whether it's Sonic, obviously Sonic has a lot of support for this. With all of its containerization work into virtual switching, they're all into a virtual environment, is fantastic for emulation and test.
Omar, there is
I'm also seeing a bunch of questions. Yeah.
Yeah, there is a good question from Vincent. He's wondering if we can add topics in this group in the future, the reliability and the quality control for optics and on SIP in data center? Yeah,
I think we're very open to those topics, right? At one point we had done a lot of optics testing and coordination of joint test activities with the OCP community. Mostly this was focused on layer 1, layer 2. Or layer 1, then we sort of started looking into, do we move up the stack in terms of some of this optics interface testing? Definitely happy to if the community is interested in doing more of that. It looks like there's a little bit of clarification. This is great, about like, hey, running Sonic as a virtual machine. I see Rupa talking about, can we run NOSes inside virtual environments? So that's something that that might be a good follow-up. I think that naturally falls out from a bunch of the way the NOSes have been architected.
One more
Yeah.
question for you,
So I think
Omar.
if there
People are
Oh, yeah.
asking, how about ONL? How about ONL? What's happening with ONL?
This is a very good question. Unfortunately, we're running to the end, and I don't want us to overlap into the next talk. I've been working pretty closely and trying to get up in connection with obviously ONL. It's an open source project, but then Big Switch has been very, very active in driving this. And after the acquisition, they've been going through different, as acquisitions go, in terms of trying to get settled in the new area. But I've been speaking with Jeff, who's been leading ONL before the acquisition, and is very active in it, and figuring out how we can move forward with that within the post-acquisition world. And they're still coming up with that. We hope to actually share maybe an update by the next networking call. Okay, so thank you all. We should just get off this one and then move on to the next session, and look forward to interacting with everyone and engaging throughout the next few days. Thanks, Shin. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.